Man, here we go. Jared, what a great work of bringing all these people together, dude. I don't know if you will remember anything anybody remembers from my session, but I'm waiting for your session, which is about community, and I want to hear all about it. So I'm gonna go as
I
fast
gotta
as
follow this act.
I can. Thanks, Jared. All right, let's jump into it. We are gonna talk about ROI. Like I'm really gonna kick off with somewhat of a serious note for everybody who's thinking about ROI, thinking about what's the best way to go about and driving outcomes. It's really important that everybody recognize that it is not an easy thing to do. I don't know if you guys are seeing two screens or one, but here we go. The redefining ROI is such a big deal. I happened to write my third book is called Move, and it was in 2019. It hit Wall Street Journal bestseller, USA Today. But the reason that was a super important book to write and the timing of it is because what it identified as a big issue. We have identified there are only 15 go to market issues. That's it. Only 15 go to market problems. There is not a 16th one. And I challenge everyone, take a screenshot of this. There is a QR code. You can download it. I'm sure somebody would drop in links to all of these things as well as we're talking through. But folks, think about it. There are only 16 go to market problems. But the one that I've highlighted here is the one that's the most painful of all. We all are experiencing it. And it's about this emotion that comes out of it where your customers love you. I'm sure that's true for a lot of you, but they can't quantify and figure out the ROI when it's renewal time. So let me ask you this, and maybe drop it in the chat if you have this emotion happen where somebody would say, "Well, we love you, the people, we love the customer success, we love the product, but I don't think we can renew because I can't share that. I can see or I can quantify. I can tell my CFO or CEO what actually is happening." Tell me in the chat if this is an issue that you're facing because our data suggests that this is one of the biggest reasons companies fall what we call in the valley of death. Again, very, very, very deep thought when it comes to thinking about where people are really challenged. We believe there are typically five valleys of death where companies run out of energy, run out of money, run out of ways to drive business forward. And the top two that everybody seems to be facing right now, and I'm going to share some stats in a minute, is this idea that you have learned to create, you can but and you've figured out how to market, but you're not selling because the customers are saying, well, show me how you show ROI. Maybe you're able to get bypass that, and then now you can sell and deliver, but at the time of renewal they're coming back, and that happens in the form of poor win rates. That happens in the form of stalled pipeline. I mean, just drop in the chat how many of you are facing any of these four things. Your win rates are dwindling down, drop to maybe 20, 10. I've heard as low as in single digits. I've heard huge pipeline, but nothing moving. Have you heard about the CFOs are blocking deals or poor customer retention? If you are seeing, I see Jermaine, you saying yes, and some of the other folks, the root cause. I want you to take a deeper note on this one, or maybe write this down. The root cause of all of these things is not bad salespeople. It's not bad marketing. It's not bad product. The root cause of all of this is the ability for you to show ROI. So we ran data and said, well, let's really figure out. And our data shows that 60% of the companies that we keep asking about this thing, they say, well, the reason all of this is happening is because there's just poor ROI. That companies are truly, truly struggling with this. Now, we also have partnership with G2. We're like, let's go really deeper on it. Where are the biggest? When do people look for ROI? When you sell, do they look for it right away? Do they take some time? Well, here are the top considerations most buyers are using. Number one, they're figuring out, is it easy to implement and figure out what the ROI is? But something that really hit me, and this is the part that I hope nobody misses. 47% of the buyers said, look, if they don't see ROI within 6 months, they already have decided that they're going to be out of it. Now, that is really challenging. And as a matter of fact, 55% of the companies that we're talking to, and G2 did this research around, is they're spending more money to figure out, how do I show ROI? how do I figure out this ROI story? Is it not enough to say that our product drives incredible impressions or revenue or pipeline? The reality is you still have to go deeper. And most folks haven't really taken the time to figure out how to show proper ROI. So I'm going to share a framework today, and we're going to go dive deeper into it. It's one of the most interesting frameworks we have ever created. So you're in a treat for this. But I want this for everybody to walk away with one thing. This is super important, which is that you do not have a marketing problem. If you're in marketing, drop in the comments, yes, I'm in marketing. But you don't have a marketing problem. Somebody says, well, why are there no more leads? Marketing sucks. Not true. Maybe the market has changed. Maybe the product has changed. All right. So it's not a marketing problem. So I want you to know you are not the problem. Maggie, Eden, Melissa, Craig, Stan, you are not the problem here. So number one, that's right. Kendall, same thing. Aditya, same thing. All right. Who are my salespeople over here? Let me tell you, if the deals are getting stalled and the deals are not moving faster, you are not necessarily the problem. The reason is because, again, the market has shifted and the story of ROI, the team has to provide that. So Eric, my friend, you are not. Amon in sales, you're not. SDR, oh my God, you are the hardest working people on the team. Ravi, you're not the problem. Jennifer, you're not the problem. Sean, Eli, the sales is not really the problem. Now tell me who is in the RevOps CS product community, like who are in those three areas where they're spending time with customers, they're trying to figure out data and see what cohorts are actually working better. Or maybe you're in the product team and you're trying to figure out, oh my goodness, let me figure out a new product. Let me tell you, Crystal, Celeste, Reinhard, Johan, you guys are really at the front lines of all of it. And again, you are not the problem. What we have, and this is the common vocabulary I want everyone, Crystal, everyone, all of us to adopt, is that we have a go-to-market problem. Now, why is that important? Let's take a minute on this thing. Words have the power of life and death. So when we say, let's come together, fix the marketing problem, guess what? Everybody's focused on solving a marketing problem. They're not thinking about the business. When you think about, oh, you know what, the pipeline is tall, let's solve a sales problem. What? Guess what? When you start focusing on that, now you're talking about compensation. Now you're talking about territory planning. You're talking about a functional issue, but maybe the problem solution is somewhere else. So the point of saying, let's solve our go-to-market problems really brings marketing, sales, CS, product, RevOps, all the go-to-market teams together and say, hey guys, we don't know who's going to be able to solve the problem individually. It's probably not possible for a function to solve it, but maybe, just maybe, we all together. As GTM Partners, we're an advisory company for go-to-market. We do a lot of research on this thing. And when we see majority of the times, people come in saying, oh, we don't have leads, and that's why we're going down. And we walk away after a workshop with a new product solution that's going to help you. They create a PLG model. Completely different problem they walked in with, completely different solution they walked out with. So you never know where the solution has come from. So, but when you come in as a go-to-market problem, you become a business leader who happen to specialize in marketing or sales or CS or RevOps or product. You are a business leader. So be with me on this part, is that when you have the next meeting, don't call it the RevOps meeting. Don't call it the sales alignment marketing meeting. Don't call it, oh, we're going to figure out the capacity issue. Call it a go-to-market meeting. You will see a big difference, because words, again, have a power of life and death. Amen, Mark. With that, so let me quickly introduce the OS, and then I'm going to jump into the framework. Again, you can download this. It's a huge area to cover. We do a whole workshops on helping companies think about operating system. But think about the fact, if you're using, and maybe drop in the chat, how many of you are using still the demand waterfall model, where you have this whole big top down where there's this funnel, you're tracking MQL, you're tracking SQL, you're trying to figure out what happens. How many of you are doing that today? Because if you're doing that in your organization, that was created for marketing and sales. Crystal, you see that, right? Like that was created for marketing, sales. RevOps were not even part of that equation. Enablement was not even part of that equation. So it's hard to solve for that in that model. Now, how many of you were using maybe the Topo double funnel, where they had the SDR alignment and figuring out how and where SDR reports to? I love these models, but they were all invented to solve a marketing and sales problem. And as we all know, in this room right now, marketing, sales, CS, product, enablement, RevOps, All of them are part of go-to-market. So we created this OS where it is not a marketing, sales, or any departmental problem. We're looking at this as a business. Now, I want to drive your attention to one pillar because that's all we're going to talk about today. That's all the time we have, which is customer time to value. That's where the ROI comes in. And even within this, we're really going to go after how do you know and how do you help your customers? How do you help your sales teams? How do you help yourself to tell a clear ROI story? So let me introduce the ROI framework. This is, again, one of the best works of our lives. So I'm very proud of the framework, very proud of the team. Shout out to Lindsay and Brian and the team who actually really helped put this, bring this to life. So one of the things we have learned as part of the research is not all ROI is the same. There are 5 different types of ROI. Now, I want you to, as you're reading it, because you're going to be reading it faster than I'm speaking here, so drop in what type of ROI you think your product actually do. Let me just give you definitions real quick. Attributable, which means you can put $1 in, you get $3 out. You can attribute the success of it. If you have an attributable product, that's your ROI. Drop it in the comments saying, yep, we have an attributable business. Let me tell you, our data and research and anecdotally talking to many companies, very few companies actually have that as a way to show outcomes. But everybody says that on their website. It's all the sea of sameness. So it's a really hard one. Transformational where you change the world. You're changing the world. Salesforce was transformational. You think about Slack was transformational. ABM was transformational. At one point or another, you change the way. So you don't need to show attribution. What you need to show is change management. A different way of ROI. All right, I love that. Sandra, efficiency, you're already on Phil, you're already on top. Efficiency and necessity are like my favorite ones because at some point, you should become so clear that you can show that, yeah, it reduced cost or increased productivity, or you become a necessity where you're like, we need this. Without this, we can't operate. And a lot of products move in between them. But here's the one that you don't want to be. You don't want to be an ROI that is indirect. Now, you may be facing that today in your organization where, well, like, our product does X, Y, and Z, but we're just not there. That means you provide incremental outcomes or you add just an add-on to it. Maybe it's better. It's kind of nice to have. And when you have those incremental outcomes, it's a mixture of different way of values. And when that happens, that's when you have stalled pipelines. That's why people are ghosting. That's why the CFO is like, I'm not sure. So don't be in the indirect. Here's another way to visualize this. We call the indirect the muddy middle. Anybody who's in the muddy middle is in the instability zone. You're just preserving the business. Let me know who are. And at Mia, you say you're in transformational. Well, if you're attributable or transformational, Mia, you're in the winning zone, which means you get to set your prices. You get to set your stage for it. You get to be able to say, you know what, here's what we're going to do and change. You get to own the narrative. It's a very powerful place to be. The efficiency and necessity, like Casey and Angeli, I think, and if you're thinking about it, it is competitive. This is a great zone to be in, but you're going to be hit with pricing. A lot of competitors in the space. Everybody's going to expect incremental efficiency in a much faster and rapid pace from you. But it's a great place to be. Now, I see some of you saying that I think I'm a mix of all. Well, if you have one product, listen very carefully. This is very important. If you have one product, it got to be one of these things. It cannot be a combination of it because that's when you dilute your messaging to a point where you sound so similar to everything. You got to be one of them. But here's what we've, through our research and the work that we've been doing with hundreds of companies, we're finding that if you have more than one product, then one product could be attributable. The other product could be transformational. Another product, if you have a third one, maybe it's an efficiency one. So every product may have a different ROI story that you have to tell to your customers and equip them to tell of the channel. Now, here's an example of what moving pieces look like. I love, Jennifer, you're talking about attributable, Johan, transformational, Casey, your efficiency and transformational. It's very important to know what that is because you can then craft your positioning, your messaging all around that. Now, one thing we noticed was when we started teaching them and helping companies do that through workshops and whatnot, they were like, whoa, I think we are transformational a year ago, but we're not. Maybe you're missing something. Maybe something is wrong. No. You're expected to happen. At one point or other, Slack, let's just use an example, is a transformation. When they happened, it changed the world around how you communicate. But then it became an efficiency thing, and now it's a necessity. Almost most companies have some version of Slack or something like that. So it drops down from a winning zone to a competitive zone. The only way to stay in the winning zone is innovation, or you're acquiring companies to make changes happen. But if you're a single product, then you're dropping down into competitive zone, and that's not bad. It means that your TAM, your market, is huge out there. Here's another one to think about. Here are some companies we did even deeper ROI studies, but we love doing this. Vidyard, for example, and I use these because these are very well-known companies out there. When you think about Vidyard, well, what did they do? Where did it happen? Well, we found out that time to value for their customers was 3 months. Remember the G2 study? If it's less than 6 months, they're not going to renew. Their customers think there's 3 months. Changes the game how you talk about it in your first call deck. They use this research that we did as part of their first call deck. You think about Airmeet Goldcast. I mean, the experience that you're about to experience here is what their customers want. It's not necessarily attribution. It is literally the NPS score and the way companies experience the platform. So the ones that does better in this particular category wins the race. The Hershey's and other customers which just count an experience. For them, it's the lead quality. It's not the quantity. So when you go deeper, your research and your data will tell you where you're moving. But if you don't have this clarity, you're going to miss out on a big time when it comes to ROI. So remember those 5 different ones. And remember that every company and every product can have a different set of ROIs. Now, as I pull together and say, and Jared asked me like, hey, what are across the board? What are the big recommendations? I want to just share a couple of them. And again, you can have all these slides later on for yourself as well. Is number one, if I didn't say generative AI, I wasn't here, so I'm just gonna say it. But here's a clear part. When everybody started talking about efficient growth, for me, who has been at Parrot, and then my company got acquired by Salesforce, then I started Terminus, and all my last 15 years of building companies, I've like, so what were we doing? We're just throwing money, like good money after bad. Is that what we're doing? No, we were trying to be efficient, but we're not there yet. And I believe generative AI is really helping us and stretching our minds to say every single playbook around go-to-market, how you grew, even community-led, why we're all here is going to change. And that may be a part, not the path, but a path for efficient growth. Here's another one I will highlight real quick as I back it over to Jared in a few, is you got to have a clear ROI story. We just walked through a few examples of it. We walked through a something you can literally print out and go tomorrow to your team and say, let's plot our products on this upside down bell curve, and you will find everybody's in a different place. Gotta know what your ROI story is. Even better, go and print that 15 go-to-market problems and see where the problems are in your company and have your executive team do it independently. And then you match it up. We do that all the time with our customers. And when we do that, we see there's a mismatch. Know what you are really, really focused on. And finally, this goes without saying, you have to reimagine. We all have to reimagine the way go-to-market is. And community is a huge part. The way sales and marketing, man, if anybody else ever says again, let's have a sales and marketing alignment meeting, I'm going to lose it, because we have had that conversation for 15 years. Nothing has changed. So that means that the way we're looking at it is different. So talk about your meeting as a go-to-market meeting, not sales marketing meeting, because that doesn't solve any problem. So I'll leave you with this. We drop a new research every Monday called GTM Monday. Jared knows it. We made a commitment that we would never write anything that says 5 hacks to do this or 5 things. No, it will be the research, a framework, or a data. And it's amazing that we get to partner up with a community like this to share that research. And the OS, we never went so super deep in it, but customer time to value is one of the fastest and most important growth area for companies. People are investing in it. And as a company, if you can invest in customer time to value, you're going to have a very profitable and better company than anybody else. So Jared, I'm going to have you come back up as we take any questions. And I'm curious what your questions are as you think about go-to-market, as you think about ROI, and as you think about community in general, because ROI is the number one challenge that I see over and over again in the marketplace.
Hey, so actually Jared's backstage getting ready for the keynote. So I decided to hop in and go ahead and take over. Sangram, we did have one person that was, I guess it was upvoted 3 times, asking how do they get access to these slides. I saw Karthi also posted the link, so I included that. So if there's any other UTM codes or anything you would like to share, please feel free to do so in the chat. Also, audience, if you guys have questions, drop them in. Let's go ahead and get some questions for Sangram. Let's pick his brain. Let's get him.
Well, this is it. Well, look,
some controversial questions or points. We love that.
And I will be happy to do it because, Gina, I literally came back just for this today. I had my daughter's event in the morning in school. I had such a blast just doing it. And then I just came just for this. And I'm like, all right, after this, I'm back out there. So this is an important topic for me. And I wanted to make sure I do, obviously, priority family and go and do that. And then come back and share this because I'm very passionate. Most companies are struggling with this. They don't even talk about ROI as much as they should. And in Q4 and 2024, if you don't have your ROI stories, it's going to really be a struggle and a slog for every company out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the way, our market's been going, like ROI is extremely important right now. So it's definitely top of mind. And Sangram, I mean, just your delivering your presentation for somebody who was a former SDR, now partner success manager here at Rev Genius. I mean, I see both sides of it from the cold outreach perspective all the way down to basically a customer success role here. So it is top of mind for a lot of people. So thank you so much for sharing your insight. Also, audience members, this will be recorded. So if you had to leave earlier, you want to share this with a colleague or share it with your higher ups, this will be recorded and it will go ahead and live on the RG website, revgenius.com/events. Aman, we have a hand raised. Okay. Yeah. Hey, Sangram, we do have some questions. So actually we're right on time here. We have Phil Mason. I'm going to go in order, guys.
Yeah.
Phil Mason, how do you build an ROI case if the client holds data close?
Ooh, great question. Well, if you are working with a client and they're holding data close, I mean, ultimately you can just have them strip off all the PII data, all the company level data. What you're really looking for are cohorts. Like that's what you're looking for. You're looking at what segment is giving me the best ROI. Now here is Gina. I'm glad this question was raised. A lot of companies look at an ROI, and in order to do that, they look at the win rate and say, well, where are we winning? And they look at it at an aggregate level. That's a miss. That's a huge miss because when you do that, you're literally clubbing bad customers with good customers, and now you're just going across the board. The best companies out there that we see and we get to work with is we see that we help them think about ROI in cohorts. What are your best customers? Who are your best ICP? And what does the win rate look like? And what is the story they're saying? And when you look at it at that level, all of a sudden, you're not looking at thousands. If let's say you have 1,000 customers, you're looking at 150, 200, 300. That's your best case ICP, right? Those are the ones you want to work with, and they are the best customers for you. Then you look at and figure out what the ROI they want and the story they want to hear and the story they understand and share. You all of a sudden, you start looking at your win rates at a much higher rate. Cohort-based ROI is very important when you drive your business.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see. Derek, his question was upvoted. So Sangram, how are boards aligned on the go-to-market mantra over sales and marketing?
Oh, Derek, that's a great question. I think the board, depending on what kind of board you have, I have a love-hate relationship with most boards that I've been on, quite frankly. And I hate that I'm on some of the boards, and I wonder about those executives about it too. I really meant when I said this, that the words have the power of life and death. So when we talk about sales and marketing as a functional thing, and we say, well, our go-to-market team is sales and marketing, we've already missed the boat because RevOps, enablement, product, CS are huge part. Like Gina, you're in the community enable. If you're not part of that conversation, we just missed a key intel because you're the closest to the customer. But most of them, they're not even in the room. So
right.
We got to put that out there. So if your board is not aligned on that one, well, it doesn't matter, because a few years later, either if you're a VC funded thing, you're going to have a down round, because in this
Absolutely.
alignment is super important. But it's not a sales and marketing, it is a go-to-market alignment. We
Right.
have to elevate the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. Let's see. We have Melanie. It looks like she may have been next. Who do you most often see leading the charge here in terms of championing? Wow, words escape me today. I'm like filled with excitement for this to be kicking off. So excuse my misreading here. Anyway, and creating that ROI story.
Oh, that's a great question. Typically, I've seen product marketing lead this conversation, but they're still doing it at a very finite level. I've seen CMOs, but the most interesting people that should lead this should be the RevOps people. And here's why. I always ask, like, well, what is the worst question you can ask in a company? Here's the worst question. If I give you $1, where would I invest? Now, if you go and ask that question to a marketer, Gina, they're going to say, oh, I want to add more, we want to do more marketing. We want to do more events. If you go ask a salesperson, oh, I need to hire more SDRs. I'm going to have, so it's the worst question to ask. But the one person or the type of team that you should ask this question that will give you a great answer is RevOps. When you ask this question to a RevOps, they're going to look at the data. The best people to do this is the RevOps people, right? And I'll give you a quick story on this. It's like yesterday for me, when there was a company that we were helping, and they were trying to figure out where do they invest, where do they figure out what's going on, and they asked this question across the board. And then the person who was running RevOps, they looked at the data and they said, you know what, we need to invest in enablement, not sales, not marketing, not CS, not product, but enablement. And that insight came because they were so close to the data. They were looking at what was happening. They're like, we don't need to spend another $1 million on marketing or another huge sales. We need to, and that changed the trajectory at a much faster pace for that company than any investment they could have done.
Yep, absolutely. Sangram, thank you so much for joining us today in between your daughter and family and everything else. Thank you so much to all of our audience members who tuned into this. Guys, we are just kicking off. So if you guys have some free time, we're going to head on over to Jared. Actually, Jared Robin is presenting his keynote, which are communities are replaceable. Sounds a little controversial, so I'm here for it, not going to lie.
I am there for that too. I'm excited for that. So let's give it up for Jared over here. Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.